A nervous breakdown is overwhelming and painful to the degree that you lose your ability to cope with life. You just can't handle it anymore. It's not very necessary for me to go into the symptoms of a nervous breakdown because if you're having a nervous breakdown, you know it. It feels like an anxiety attack that just doesn't end. And you may feel so exhausted that even the smallest task is too difficult. You may even feel like you've lost touch with reality. It feels like you're forced to simply surrender and allow the feelings to take over your body like an emotional version of the flu. The most common causes of nervous breakdown are past traumas, problem in intimate relationships like breakups or divorces, experiencing a death of a loved one, problems relative to occupational pursuits like career or schooling, health problems such as injuries or chronic illnesses, and financial problems such as debt or poverty. Why did I just list these common causes? Because it's important if you're having a nervous breakdown to realize that it's happening for a reason. I can assure you that if you're in the middle of an emotional or a mental breakdown, you will not be thinking that you have a good enough reason to feel the way you feel. Instead, you'll feel like you've gone completely crazy. Because the feelings seem to be so disproportionate to the things that you are considering as having caused that particular sensation within your body. But you're not crazy. These are happening for a reason. That's why you're experiencing the sensations. It's just a stress crisis. Most importantly, you will not feel like it's temporary. You will feel like you've lost it for good. But it's not true. It is temporary. So what should we do if we are having a nervous breakdown? The first thing we have to do is to completely surrender to the breakdown itself. Breakdowns function like a riptide. If you try to resist them or go against them, you're just going to get sucked under the water 10 times quicker and it's going to drown you. Your option is to let go to it and let it take you. Let your body instinctively draw you towards its own way of healing. Treat it like an emotional flu or a healing crisis. If you had a bad viral illness, you literally couldn't function. So you have to treat the breakdown the same way. Intentionally letting go to the experience. The worst thing you could try to do during a breakdown is try to function. Now I know what you're probably thinking, that if you give in to a breakdown, it's never going to end. But in fact, the opposite is true. Your quickest way of getting out of a breakdown is to go totally through it. So don't go get a psychiatric medication prescribed. Try to get help from others with the things that quote-unquote have to be done. Of course, I want you to be really honest with yourself. I might be telling myself that this thing is something that has to be done, when in truth, I'm just choosing to do it because I think it has to be done. If you haven't done it yet, I want you to watch my video on YouTube titled How to Heal the Emotional Body. The reason is that in that particular video, I present a process which I want you to do consciously, which enables you to work your way through these painful kinds of emotions. Ironically, during an emotional or a mental breakdown, the body is forcing you to do that unwillingly. It is attempting to self-generate a healing. Instinctive healing forces are at work during a breakdown. And remember, these feelings are not trying to hurt you. They are not something happening to you. They are instead like a small, completely powerless and frightened child begging for your help. Step 2. The breakdown is telling you that there needs to be a serious change to your life. So I don't want you to be thinking that just by going through the breakdown completely, you can stand back up on the other side and go right back to life as normal. That's going to set you up for yet another nervous breakdown. And also, you got to realize it's happening for a reason. So what you got to do is look at your life, at the areas that caused that particular breakdown. And you've got to make tangible differences and changes to those particular areas. Seek help with it from others, trusted friends or professionals. A nervous breakdown happens when stressors uncover your deepest fears. So this is the time that's ripe to discover what those fears really are and to address those fears directly when you feel capable. Step 3, stop living for future plans. If you're having a nervous breakdown, the future no longer exists. You've got to draw it in so that you're only living 5 minutes to 5 minutes or hour to hour. Nothing more than that. I want you to live according to the question, what would feel like just a little bit more relief right here and now? Maybe it's eating a bowl of mashed potatoes. Maybe it's watching a funny movie. Maybe it's laying a blanket in the forest. Maybe it's crawling under the covers. Whatever it is, do it. And when you feel done with that, ask the question again. When you begin to feel more energy and less incapacitated, which happens naturally, you will naturally be compelled to starting your life over and to extending that line so that you're seeing into the future a bit more. So contrary to popular belief, this step does not have to be forced. 4, if you have the tendency to have chronic nervous breakdowns, that is, they tend to happen with enough regularity that you fear them happening again, then chances are you have a chronic stressor in your life. Most often this chronic stressor is unresolved trauma from our childhoods. I'm going to expose a common pattern among those who have chronic breakdowns. The common pattern is a sense of unsafety. The people who have chronic breakdowns have a major issue in that they can't feel safe in the world. It's almost like the stressors that they have because of the traumas that they've experienced have created so much stress in their life that living life is a little bit like tightrope walking while carrying an elephant on their back. Of course, there's like 100 times more likelihood that that person's going to fall off the tightrope. On top of that, when we feel unsafe, we tend to use people to feel safe. Many people who chronically experience nervous breakdowns have the subconscious belief that there is going to be a negative consequence to being well or being happy. So if you chronically experience nervous breakdowns, ask yourself this question and think way outside the box to discover potential answers. Why do you need to be weak or unhappy or in need of rescue? What bad thing will happen if you're powerful, happy, healthy, and with no need of rescue? Put yourself in the position of being happy and powerful and healthy and see if there are any negative feelings associated with that condition. Some of us find that being well means being abandoned by others. So only by being unwell can we guarantee connection and support. Some of us find that by being well, we feel we will be attacked. So by being unwell, we send up a white mercy flag that says to others, I'm the underdog, have mercy on me. Don't take this to mean that you're faking nervous breakdowns in order to have people around. Rather see that you can't stop having breakdowns because of the absolutely incapacitating fear you have of abandonment or harm. Step 5. When we are having a nervous breakdown, something in our life has gone badly enough that it has caused us to enter into a total negative spiral. There's a really good exercise to use in this particular circumstance. You take a look at what's going really badly, so you're aware of it. Then you ask yourself, what has this really bad situation caused me to know that I want? Or what is the possibility on the other end of the scale? And then you do everything you can do to find a way to make tangible steps or think thoughts deliberately that will get you from point A, where you are, to point B, where you want to be. In other words, when you're having a breakdown and you know why you're having a breakdown, you got to ask yourself, what has this caused me to know that I want? Or what possibility exists as the exaltation of this circumstance? This should never be forced. If you force anything during a breakdown, you're going to do nothing but add fire to fire, and it's going to just fuel the breakdown more. So make sure you do this when you have enough energy. So here's an example. Say I'm having an emotional breakdown because potentially my husband walked through the door and said, I want a divorce. That sent me into a spiral. Potentially the circumstance has caused you to know that you want to be valued for who you are and to feel like you have value. To get closer to that state, you could perhaps sit down and write a list of valuable attributes that you possess that others might find attractive. You might buy and read self-esteem books. You might try out the exercises provided in those books. You might get a makeover. You might sign up to a life-transforming workshop or seminar. You might fill your schedule with things that you know cause you to feel more confident, like a hobby you're particularly good at. Or you could get on a plane and go visit a friend who makes you feel valued. 6. Do things that make you feel safe. If you're having a nervous breakdown, then your nervous system is in hyper alert mode. Your fight or flight mechanism is so triggered that you've gone into a freeze state. So what you need to do is to find a way to feel more safe. One of my favorite ways to do this is to have people compile a list of the things that make them feel safe, both big things and little things. And then what they train themselves to do when they're feeling unsafe is to just go to the list and pick something off of it to go do. Maybe what makes you feel safe is listening to the sound of a cat purr, or the smell of cinnamon, or warm towels fresh out of the dryer, or the sound of someone's voice. Make this list as long as possible. Also, I noticed that one of the things that makes people in general feel the most safe is a sense of being cocooned. So one of the things you can do is to visualize yourself being cocooned in light energy, or cocooned in the bud of a flower, or cocooned in some other type of thing which causes you to feel a sense of containment. Letting yourself hide under the covers when you're having a nervous breakdown is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. Potentially even creating secret hideouts for yourself, regardless of whether or not you're an adult, is good too. 7. Do trauma release processes. When you are having a nervous breakdown, your nervous system is literally shot. So you have to give it some assistance in moving that trauma through and out. I think my favorite technique, as far as this is concerned, was invented by a man called David Berceli. He does TRE, trauma releasing exercises. So go ahead and look him up and try those exercises out. 8. Instead of slipping into the deprivation hole, give your body something to live off of. Go for a walk, even if it's just around the block. During a nervous breakdown, you may lose your appetite entirely, but you need to try to sip and nibble so as to not feed the cycle of your stress hormones, wreaking more havoc on your body than they already have. Do not indulge in junk foods. This will only exacerbate the problem. Instead, eat tiny bits of healthy foods or protein shakes that require no preparation. Also, get out into the sun for 20 minutes a day. Just pull a blanket outside in a chair or on the ground and lay on it. Vitamin D is an amazing mood stabilizer. Another thing that you definitely want to take, which is really, really good for you if you're having a mental or emotional breakdown, is a vitamin B complex. So find a really good source of that, and then consult a professional about what dosage you should take if you're experiencing an emotional breakdown. The way that our society is set up is ripe to cause emotional and mental breakdowns. Now, I know that a lot of the points which I hit in this video might leave you looking at me saying, Teal obviously does not live in the real world. Why can't you just give me some information about how to get on with life as usual? I can't do that because getting on with life as usual is exactly what brought you to this exact position. We need to create a life for ourselves and eventually a society that allows for things like breakdowns and illnesses. We can't expect ourselves to function under the stress of most of our lives. The serious reality is that if we do not allow ourselves to have a nervous breakdown, if it occurs, our body will find a way to stop us, and usually does this through debilitating chronic illnesses. So my question to you would be, do you want to willingly do it today and make hard changes that guarantee you a life that feels good? Or do you want to wait for your body to literally force you to do it unwillingly? Another common excuse I hear is that I can't let myself have a nervous breakdown because of the kids. I want you seriously to ask yourself this question. What message am I sending through my actions to my child? Do I want them to grow up believing that they have to pull it all together no matter how they feel and get on with life? Or do I want to teach them that I want them to sculpt their life according to what feels good? Children do not need you to be perfectly strong for them all the time. What they need is a secure connection with you. They can handle the reality that people have a hard time and that people get sick and that difficult stuff happens. What they can't handle is the repercussions of you treating them like they are just one more reason that you have to keep it together. Can you feel the guilt and pain of being saddled with the perspective that you are the burden or one more item of pressure from your parent? The parents that handle these breakdowns the best are the ones that reassure their child of the security of the connection and of the unconditional nature of their love, whilst allowing themselves to have a breakdown. Letting yourself intentionally melt into the breakdown is the fastest way through the breakdown. I can promise you will not be the same person on the other side of this breakdown, and there will only ever be improvement on the other side of this breakdown. So repeat after me. It's okay to not be okay. Have a good week.